John, take my hand. If you should find a hill and a way too steep to climb, lean on me. I'll never let you fall. Lean on me. I'll keep you standing tall.
Good evening to those of you at home, and welcome to our next installment of Fridays After 5, presented by Chase from the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. I am beyond delighted to be welcoming an icon, a legend, the likes we haven't had on the program before, with the exception of maybe one, Miss Melba Moore. Melba, thank you so much for being here with us.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And you're a movie star through and through, always will be. Looking great, sounding great too. So before we get started, Melba, with our conversation, we're really going to focus on who you are and your impact and contribution to the world of performing arts, particularly performing arts from the Black people of America and beyond as well. But before we get into all of that, would you take just a moment to say a few words about who you are in your own words?
Okay, who am I? Okay, I'm an African-American, born in New York City, Harlem Hospital, to a single mother who was a professional singer and caretaker of myself and my grandmother. And since she was gone all the time, I was raised by what I guess we would call a nanny. Great influence, because that's your family. And so the family, like many African Americans, because we were brought here as slaves, it was a little destructured. I don't know the right way. It's a family, but it's not the whole family. But my mother married my stepfather, who was a musician. He just passed away about a year ago at 101 years old. So. Ooh. He knew how to live.
Yes, a blessing to get to 101. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and he had a son and a daughter, and so I then had a sister and a brother. He also had sisters and brothers, so I had aunts and uncles now. His mother was still living, so I basically had two grandmothers now. I think that, and he lived in Newark, New Jersey, which is very, very, very different from Manhattan. So I have like two lives, and they're very, very, very important to me as a human being and as an artist, because my mother married my stepfather when I was almost 10 years old. And before that, there was no music in my life or in my house, because my mother, I knew she was a singer and she was very beautiful, and I kind of caught that aura, so I kind of keep that aura.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, mission accomplished, I'll tell you.
And she was gone all the time. So that's one thing. You have an absentee mother, you have an absentee father, but also there's no music. So, I mean, except what we heard on the radio. So I didn't know anything about music. When my mother married a musician, he made my stepbrother, not my sister, she couldn't do it, but she was artistic. He made us take piano lessons. So now all of a sudden, I'm studying an instrument and I've become intimately acquainted with music. It has never, he's left a mark on me. I'm still stuck in it. That's the beginning of my life. And then I went on, I'll skip through and say that by the time I got to junior high school, and we had music in the public schools. Oh, I started out in Catholic school, which is very important because I was taught by nuns.
Okay, wow. What was that? Now, the only thing I know about learning from nuns is what you see in a movie. I went to church school, but it wasn't Catholic. Now, in the movies, they make studying in a Catholic school seem very strict and very rigid. Is that true? And was it like that with your music? It's
very strict and very rigid.
Okay.
And if there was any music in there, I don't remember it.
Okay.
I remember getting spanked, though.
Yeah.
But I was kind of rough. And I was brought up in the streets in New York, so I was a little rough. But it was just very different in Newark, New Jersey. And very important, because by the time I got to junior high school, I'd had a lot of music in the public schools, totally different approach from Catholic school. First of all, of course, it was not religious.
Right.
It was extremely important.
Right.
And second of all, I realized that, my goodness, I love music. I didn't want to go to public high school then. I wanted to go to music and art high school, which I did do. So then I actually majored in music in high school.
Piano and voice, is that right?
Yes.
Now, I want to, if you don't mind.
Extremely important to be able to have that kind of commitment available to you by the time you're in high school. But you go ahead. So
early then, you just mentioned that the music was no longer religious, it was secular music, and that was very important to you. What was the difference, and what was there a difference there that impacted your use of the craft?
Well, I didn't say it was secular music.
Oh, I see.
I was saying that school was not religious. I'm saying I realize now that going to a Catholic school, I call myself a Catholic Pentecostal.
Okay, okay. Now, Melba, those are extremes. Yes, ma'am. I ain't never seen any Catholics with the shoulders, but
no, this is your first.
Yeah, this is my first. Man, that's, I grew up in the church myself. You may have guessed that through some of the people that we have in common who've been in my life the whole way through. So high school, piano and voice. I studied the same things, although my high school was not a performing arts high school. It was a church school. Mm-hmm. Not long after that, or let's back up. Your stepfather gets you with piano and keeps you there.
Afrocentric people, to me, it's very similar to where we get much of our specialized training.
Right, absolutely. The school and the church for sure. Where we have an exhibition going right now, and religion is a big part of the central theme, as the exhibition tells the story of the art and the lives of Black Americans in particular, specifically from the South, and religion plays a big part in that. We're going to touch on that a little bit in this conversation, because I've got some questions specifically for one Melba Moore. Once high school ends, I don't think it's long after that you're performing or professional.
I know you would think so, but that's not quite how it happened.
Tell me how.
Well, my parents were entertainers, and so they were of the philosophy that they wanted us to get a real job.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, my stepbrother and my sister and I, we taught school first. And I went to Montclair University, but I majored in music education.
Okay.
So we taught school first, and then after a certain point, like my brother became a professional musician, wonderful pianist. He's passed away at an early age, but he followed after my father, playing piano professionally, as well as teaching in the university level. My sister's just recently retired from public school teaching, and she's a gifted teacher. And I think that's part of my gift too. I just once I got into practice teaching, I had some incredible mentors, first of all. And second of all, what I learned there by being in the classroom was that if you had an impact on your young students, I taught from kindergarten through 12, all the grades.
Now, I only taught 6th, 7th, and 8th, and that nearly killed me. 12 through, or no, K through 12.
Yeah, but 6, 7, and 8, them was the hardest. That's like junior high school.
You know, that's why I got out of it. They gave me the hard one.
They turn into demons, honey.
Preach. I remember them well. I mean, love y'all kids, but man, y'all.
Nobody can handle them at that age.
Ooh, well, it makes me feel better. But you were teaching. Tell me about that. I didn't know that about you till right now.
Yes. Just following, you know, my parents' desires for me, and seeing what it was to be, but still having this ache and this desire to see if I could be a performer. But one of the things that I really learned in teaching school was that, especially with younger kids, they look at you and children see right through you. And if you're looking back at them, you notice this. You say, oh wow, it's not like what I thought it was going to be. This is more than what I thought it was going to be. There's something here. And I taught Black kids in the inner city. So that was something special to me.
Right.
And we did some wonderful things. I'll skip through some of that. But the main thing I realized is that if you impact them, they'll actually start to dress like you. And I realized, you know what? You're a role model, whether you want to be or not.
Yeah. You know, a great educator, I think, makes all the difference.
That's important to me in terms of some of the things that I think I brought with me as an entertainer.
Yeah. Well, how do you get into the entertainment industry? It's recording backup tracks, I believe.
Yes, I did.
Tell me something about that. I know you got to sing on some great album. I mean, Aretha Franklin, Dionne Warwick.
Frank Sinatra, Bobby Hebb. I can't remember them all.
Uh-oh. Early days already in with the stars. What are some great memories from those days?
I started with the stars, but the reason why was because once I told my stepdad I didn't really want to teach anymore, and could he please help usher me into the industry, he started taking me around to some of his colleagues and associates. And he took me to the Brill Building, which is a very famous, I don't think it's still there anymore, but on Broadway, where a lot of entertainment entities are. It's all entertainment. And in one of these offices, to make a long story a little shorter, while I was there, I met, sitting out there waiting for us to go in. She was going to see somebody. I was going to see somebody else, Valerie Simpson.
Okay.
And we were just chatting there, and we exchanged numbers. And she's the one who ushered me into studio backup work.
Wow. You know, studio work is still my weak point. It's just, I have so much inspiration and admiration is what I mean to say for someone who did it for so long. Is still doing it.
Well, so my point was, so that's why I really didn't start at the bottom.
No.
She was already doing commercials and jingles and voiceovers herself, but she was in that office starting to try to get her music published. She was not yet with Motown. Okay.
Well, how do you go then? How do you move, the career moves on from there to stage? It seems like.
Oh, I'm gonna tell you, honey.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm itching to get to that stage, but you seem like you got so much more for me.
I'm going to skip some things, but one of the recording sessions, like I'm skipping, that we did was for the keyboardist and composer of the Broadway musical Hair, Galt McDermott. And he was being accompanied by his two colleagues, Jim Rado and Jerry Ragney. I got to tell this part. I can't skip this part, but they were like hippies.
Okay.
But they wrote the lyrics and they wrote the book for the show. And of course, they were the two stars. But to us, they looked like people who, one of them had on his T-shirt, looked like his mother forgot to tell him to separate the whites from the colors in the laundry. He said, he said, it's tie-dye. I said, oh. And the other one, he had his bright, big, bushy, curly, red hair. He looked like his fingers were still stuck in a live plug. I couldn't tell if it was an afro or what it was.
Such big hair.
And he had a big tear in the left cheek of his jeans. You know what I'm saying? It was real hippies. Well, that one walks up to me after the date is finished. He did all the music from the show Hair. So it took us about two weeks to do all of the music. But he walks up to me and asked me, did I want to do hair? I had no theater background. I never even seen a Broadway show. And I told him he was the one who needed a hairdresser, not me.
That's your part?
This is a true story. Then he explained to me that they were still having auditions for the Broadway show Hair. So that's how I got my first Broadway show.
Man, now I know we're moving on, but I just want to know a little bit more about that experience. It must have been a wild ride going on to stage in Broadway with no experience, hadn't even seen it, out of the studio, which is not like a stage at all. I mean, quite an education you must have experienced then.
Absolutely. The thought of it came to me because they were really still looking for strong singers, but I've spoken to Jim later and he said he thought I had an interesting personality. So he wanted me in the show. He would find something, you know, for me to do. So I basically really didn't audition, you know, they just liked what they saw there and was still casting. So I got into the show and I thought, oh, this is great because they're going to teach me how to act on the job.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That was my thought. I didn't have to worry about whether I could do it or not, you know. And that's what happened there. Tim O'Horgan was the director, and he was very, very popular for doing a lot of experimental theater.
Right, okay.
So we did, you know, all kinds of exercises to make us relax and, you know, figure out what was going on, what was going to be going on in the play. And to make a long story a little shorter, one of the features that I was part of was a parody of the Supremes, where there were three girls on this high winch or platform that rolled out, and we were all in this one dress. So it looked like we were, you know, three. Well, I didn't tell it right because at a certain point we all broke out and you could see it was one dress. It was a joke.
Okay.
But I don't know if you know anything about hair because you're
Yes.
probably still young. Oh, okay. But anyway, well, it was a parody, a series of vignettes on society. So everything was a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Like a Black girl played Abraham Lincoln.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, many other parodies like that. But that was my Broadway show. Well, let me finish. I stayed in it for a year and a half. And before I left, I wound up with the female lead.
Diane Keaton leading the role.
Placed Diane Keaton because they had a lot of people come in and do the role after she left, but nobody stayed. They weren't happy with the people that they had. So one of the Black girls in the show said, well, why don't you let a Black girl try? I thought you said it was, you know, free love and open and everything. How come it's always got to be somebody white? And they said, well, we didn't think of that. You want to audition for us? She said, no, but Mel could probably audition for us. You put me up. So they rehearsed me and let me do the shows on Saturday matinees, and that's how I got the female lead.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, that's a beautiful story. First Black actress to replace a white actress in a lead role with hair.
Right.
That's some history. We're in the room with history, folks. It moves me. Now you leave Hair, and
well, let me tell you that story.
Okay, all right.
By the way, this big mouth Black girl is the one who played Abraham Lincoln. She said, Melba, you don't even know how to audition.
Mm.
She said, you're in a Broadway show while you're here, start going up for auditions. So I said, well, where? I don't know anybody or anything. Oh, wow. So she said, well, I go up for auditions all the time. I'll tell you, you know, where the next one is. And she gave me the information and she told me, she said, when you go for these things, she said, you have to do what they call typecasting. I said, well, what is that? She said, well, you find out something about the role and you try to look like the role so they can imagine if you would be good in the role. Well, I'll skip the rest of it. The role was Ludi Bell Gussie Mae Jenkins.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, I can't wait to hear this story. Tell me about Pearlie.
All right, well, I think the reason I got it was because I was telling you that I was raised by a nanny.
Mm-hmm.
So she was from the backwoods of North Carolina. She was an orphan. She was illiterate, and she lived with sharecroppers. So they moved her from house to house, and so that's kind of like how I was.
Right. Right.
Besides being brought up by the nuns.
Right. Seemed like it all boiled down to produce something great.
Yeah, and it is, I think, kind of very Americana in terms of everybody here is from somewhere else, essentially.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Now, this is 1970?
Yes.
What was America like then in the landscape of the performing arts for a Black woman?
It was very biased and very prejudiced. So Hare had broken all the rules. And when I went to audition for Pearlie, and Philip Rose was quite an incredible director, and he was producing the show. He really opened the way for Black people on Broadway. He directed and produced Raisin in the Sun, which gave Sidney Poitier his opportunity that he then took to film. You probably don't know who she is, but a wonderful actress, Diane Sands, Diane Carroll.
Yes.
So many more. He did Pearlie Victorious, which was a comedy play without music, but it started, was written by Ossie Davis for himself, and because nobody wrote anything for us.
Right.
But Philip Rose has kind of opened the way for Black people on Broadway. And so when he auditioned for one thing, he didn't hear me sing. He said, I don't really care about that. And he said, don't tell anybody that you did Hair, because it's not really a show. That's what the environment was. Well, first of all, it didn't really have like straight scenes and characters that went from one scene to the other and developed. Like, it was a series of vignettes put together. So he didn't really consider it a real play. And that's what the environment was. And certainly we didn't have a lot of Black people on Broadway. I remember, I think Sammy Davis had done Golden Boy before. Lena Horne had done, I can't think of the name of it now. Leslie Uggams had been on Broadway, but there was still few and far between. But at the time that Pearlie opened, also down the road was Hello Dolly, but the Black version.
Yeah.
And it was starring Pearl Bailey.
Yes.
But the interesting thing for me was that in the chorus was Clifton Davis.
Cliff, yes.
So of course we were introduced by the young lady who played Aunt Missy in Pearlie, and we fell in love. We wound up having our own TV show, a whole bunch of things. But what would you like to know?
Well, first, what you're telling me, there aren't, in this time, there wasn't material being written for the Black actor, for the Black performer. What kind of roles were there for you before Pearlie? Things were... None.
Well, there were a few, but I'm probably the wrong person to ask because I'm ignorant about Broadway. I don't know everything that was going on there because I wasn't in it.
Right.
I could tell you more what was going on in the recording industry because my parents came from music and so did I. But I really wasn't.
Even as someone outside of the scene, you knew there. It seems like you knew. It was evident there was probably not much work there for you, and I think that makes me think about your career as a musician, your recordings, your albums, your Grammy nominations for the work that you did. It strikes me that you could have stuck to the theater and taken on more roles. Did the fact that
I did have Timbuktu, where I played
yes.
the role of Marcina, and I also did later on Les Miserables.
Yes, yes, and those to great reviews. My question really is, did the lack of opportunity in roles, the lack of roles that represented you, did that influence your decision to be a recording artist rather than a stage artist?
No, I just felt that was my center.
Okay, great. We've all got ours. My great love is the stage. Like I said, the studio, I love it, but it scares me. Doesn't scare you. So 1972, though, Clifton Davis, Melba Moore show. What was that experience like?
Bizarre, exciting, exotic. Because once again, both of us were young and new. in the industry. I think Clifton had at least studied acting. I had not. He was an incredible musician. I don't know if he studied or not, but he was a prolific songwriter, just naturally. And he was just an outgoing, bubbly personality. And he at least he had an agent.
Seemed like he had a little arsenal you didn't have, but you were doing fine.
Well, I was really blessed, and he too he's an I guess an A personality. He's outgoing, you know, and so I think that we did a lot, and we're both adventurous.
Well, your career presents that. It's about this time, Melba, I think, and you know better than I, that your first 3 albums are produced. Is that right, with Mercury Records?
Yes, and I had I got an agent and a sort of manager, and so with Pearlie going on and having hair under my belt, they were able to go out and take advantage of some recording offers that were made to me. And the first one was with Mercury Records, so I did my first album while I was still in Pearlie.
Now, Pearlie, I think we're bearing a little bit of a lead here. Tony Award.
Yeah.
For this performance. I don't have any such thing on my bookshelf. What is that like? What's it like attending a ceremony like the Tony Awards?
Well, it's breathtaking. I'll put it that way. I'll be nice, because it's shocking, because I hadn't heard of it before, or didn't really know what it was about. But fortunately, once again, I guess in theater, you probably know, if it works out good, your fellow actors really become your family there. And what a family I had. Sherman Hemsley.
Oh.
Cleavon Little, Novella Nelson, Linda Hopkins. I'm trying to think. Oh, in the chorus was Debbie Allen, George Faison, and I'll just point out George Faison at this point. First of all, he's hilarious. They all are, but of course we became friends. I became friends with everybody, but he kind of, told me what the Tony Awards was about, and that, once I got nominated, that I had to have a special dress for it. Actually, he made my dress, because he was doing sewing on the side and everything.
Wow.
So it's very, 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 I can say exciting, but it's much more than that. And the show Pearlie was nominated for a Tony. I think won a Tony too. And I was nominated for a Tony, and I think Cleavon was also nominated, and I think he received the Tony Awards. So the performance is what strikes me right now, because I remember, first of all, it was done for television. So one of the shocking things to me was that, like in the theater, it's dark. All of a sudden, all the lights are on.
Mm-hmm.
You can look out in the audience, I can see Pearl Bailey and Rex. And these people, I can't think her name now, but different movie stars and people. Oh, Lauren Bacall, Helen Hayes. I remember their names now.
Oh, man.
I can see this. Plus the stage revolves. I said, oh my God, I can't.
Okay, well, tell me, what's the difference then? Juxtapose that with your first time at the Grammys.
Well, first of all, you got to meet Clive Davis.
Oh boy, I wish.
You got to be at one of his parties.
Oh, I wish even harder.
Woo!
Those must be stories for another time.
Okay, a lot has happened between then and here.
I love that. So now, did Pearlie earn you a Grammy nomination or just the Tony Award?
What do you mean, just the Tony Award?
That's what I'm saying. There's got to be more to it. I need me a Tony and a Grammy, Miss Melba Moore.
Oh, that's you're well educated. Okay, of course I knew I'd heard of a Grammy. I wasn't thinking about that at all. But the Tony Award was just still, just devastating, just incredible.
That's beautiful. The word devastating I didn't expect to hear, but that is beauty in devastation.
First of all, I didn't understand the categories.
Okay, boy. You had quite an
And
education at this early stage of your career.
well, one of the things that happened is that the gentleman who announced my category, his name was Jack Jones. Everybody knew him. He was always drunk.
Oh, okay. Oh boy, a lot of Hollywood.
When he announced that I had won it, he said somebody else's first name and my last name.
Okay.
So I was trying to figure out how to get out of there. I thought, okay, that's not me. And I heard the audience say, no, it's Melba Moore, Melba Moore. They were saying to him. So the stagehand was telling me, no, stay here. Stay, don't go anywhere.
The crowd knew even if he didn't. So I
have it on tape, but I don't know what happened. I know I got the award, but it was too exciting. I have it on tape. I have the award, but it was too exciting.
My voice teacher in college won a Grammy for Carmen. That's the only time I got to hold an award like that in my hand. And boy, was it heavy. Was it your appearance at the Tony Awards, or more likely just the fabulous Melba Moore herself, that lands you so many appearances on such great talk shows or shows in general, like Carol Burnett or David Frost or Ed Sullivan?
It was the Tony Awards and Pearlie. Pearlie was a really, real favorite. Smash Hit was the first show that many African Americans went to for the first time.
How did Johnny Carson become so interested in you? I've noticed you 13 appearances in only a matter of years on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. I
don't know. He must have just liked me, because if he don't like you, he lets you know.
Is that right? Okay. Tell me something about Mr. Carson. I'm never going to meet the man, but that had to be a lot of fun walking out on set with him, cameras and lights and crowds.
That was exciting. That was wonderful. He was always very kind to me, and talked about whatever we wanted to talk about and kept inviting me back. It was wonderful.
Did you ever get to perform on the show?
Yeah, I know, because that's really, really odd, because a lot of times you would have people come on the show, and I'm trying to think. I know what it was. It was reversed. You could perform on the show, but he never let the Black artists sit down at the panel.
Oh, okay.
I remember when Patti LaBelle was on there. She sang that Rainbow song. And the audience would not let her go. He had to let her sit down.
What? So,
I mean, it wasn't said, but they would never let the Black artists sit down.
So did you never get a chance to sit?
You'd be able to perform. They brought you on to perform because mainly they brought Black artists who had hit recordings. You could perform, but you couldn't interview. Could perform, but you couldn't interview.
But 13 performances strikes me as something incredible.
I didn't remember that it was that many. I'm grateful.
I think I could have counted wrong. I don't know everything in the world. But you picked back up with the recording industry, mid-70s?
Yes, because then I meet and marry my then husband. We're not married now, but he was just gifted as an entrepreneur. And he wasn't a musician. I think he had been for a little while. He wasn't a trained musician, but he loved music, and he had a gift for entrepreneurs. I like to say, some people, I'm not so gifted at business. You have to know business, but I'm a musician. But like I'm a musician, he was a business person. And he went out and found record deals for me, and he found the incredible producers like Van McCoy was one of the first ones. He went out and got Van McCoy for me. He got Buddha Records.
Yes.
It was my second label when I started to do recordings consistently. He would go out and get songwriters, and that's why I have this career in the record industry. And of course, music is my anointing, I think.
Yeah, I believe that comes through you very well. Tell me some of the great stories from your recording career.
Well, one.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. We'll buckle in.
I always remember Van McCoy was a beautiful, sweet, gentle personality, very talented. Because you're so young, I'll tell you, he actually ushered in what that dance era was called the disco era, with the disco hustle, which I think was first released in Europe, but became very successful here. And that's why my then husband went and got him, because we wanted to see if we could get involved with dance music. And he gave me my first, I guess it was a top 10. It charted very well, but This Is It, he wrote for me. But I knew that he had written and produced Aretha Franklin, who I'm still a diehard fan for.
Yes, well, as you should.
And she had sung this beautiful ballad, Lean on Me. And it inspired me so much, I started to sing it. And of course, I can't sing like Aretha, so I developed my own arrangement for it. So when I met Van, I said, Van, please, 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 would you let me record this song, but you got to do it this way.
Mm.
So the first song that I have, actually, that's become my signature song, is my rendition of Lean on Me, that basically I arranged, but I mean, I laid it out, I GPS'd it, but he made the orchestrations.
Right, right. Wow. I mean, arranging music is one of my great passions. That I'm great at. The recording is sitting in a studio.
Wow.
Man, I need some lessons on that. But composition, arranging, all day long.
That to me is so complicated. It's such a...
You know, good teachers. I had good teachers. You know,
Yeah,
that's...
but you have to have a talent for it, you know.
Well, I'll say that. The family that I was blessed to be a part of gave me a lot of great talent. And the educators like yourself came along and turned that talent into skill. I'll say I've got some.
All righty then.
Yeah, why not? Okay, you know, I didn't know something else about you until I was reading a little bit earlier this week. Your role as Harriet Tubman in The American Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Did you an Emmy nomination for this performance? This is something I'm still learning about. I'd love to learn about this experience from you.
Yes, that happened. Yeah, I did that. Yes.
What was that like?
Easy, simple. I don't know why I was not intimidated by it, but thank God I wasn't, because I offered some other things that I turned down because I just was scared that I didn't have enough experience or knowledge about acting. So I didn't do it.
Playing a historical figure like Harriet Tubman feels very heavy to me. I think it would weigh on me. I don't know how I got through it.
You know why it would weigh on you? You know why it would weigh on you? I have a feeling, did you have a fairly normal, healthy, joyful childhood and growing up and stuff?
I had a very isolated childhood.
Really?
Yes.
Well, was it solemn? Was it brutal?
I wouldn't say it was brutal. It was just quiet and lonely.
Okay, that's pretty harsh though too. But mine was lonely, brutal, and harsh, and what? So it wasn't heavy for me.
I mean, I haven't seen your work, and that I regret that. I'm hoping that I can see it even tonight as I go home, because I'm fascinated by portrayals of great historical figures like Harriet Tubman. She's not the only I'm interested in, but also we are today, during the course of this interview, we are very focused on figures like hers, even recent releases of new media material that cover her story. Have you seen any of it?
My hope is that I'll get more opportunities now to do acting roles. One of the people I would love to work with is Lee Daniels.
Okay.
You know any of his work?
I do.
I think his work is very raw.
Mm-hmm.
It is, in some cases, maybe very solemn, but it's very honest. And now that I'm mature and I'm whole, I'm well, I can look back. Those not only would those things not scare me because I'm not them anymore, but I can portray them because they're part of who I am.
I love
Especially
that.
If I have a wonderful director, because I still haven't done very much that I know so much. It's not in my body language just automatically because I do it all the time, like music is.
Right. You know, my mother used to teach me growing up that she would say about her own singing as she was teaching me to sing, that if she didn't believe it, she wasn't going to sing it. And it seems like that's what you're saying. That's important, the truthfulness, the rawness. Well,
that's what my mother taught me. She said she didn't have the opportunity to get a college education and to study. She said, but that really doesn't matter if you don't move people. She taught me that to focus on that, take it in, learn it, study that. So I do. The honesty of whatever it is you do. Because first of all, we have a plethora of incredible artists, black, white, everything. And when you're young, the first thing you want to do is imitate people.
Yeah.
And in some cases, that may keep you from really finding out who you are, unless I could, for my case, I couldn't imitate nobody. So, and I still had the hunger to try to do this. So I keep searching for how I can do it.
How did that continuous search for finding out who Melba Moore was as a performer, what did that search do for you as you were developing in this industry?
Well, first of all, because, well, I had to get help. My ex-husband helped me do this, get people to manage me. And we tried to get managers. And at the time that I was coming up, there were no Black artists that had done Broadway and were successful in R&B music too. Mm-hmm. So we couldn't get anybody to manage me. So we managed me. And everywhere that we went, they said, well, she can't do that. I had already done it.
And all of it.
So then what we had to do was figure out, how do we structure our management team to cover all these different areas that you've already done? So you're not always trying to start over and trying to convince somebody who doesn't know as much as you perhaps about the industry, because you have to go out there and knock on doors and scratch to say, could I please come in? And they're in a category they've become specialized at, so they don't have to know what else is going on. That's my humble.
I think I agree with you, Melba. The industry, of course, has changed so much. Since then, I recently interviewed a DJ, El Bravador is his name, and we were talking about, he's in hip hop, how once upon a time it was selling out of your car trunk, and that's the only way you could get noticed or heard. But right now there's as much technology in my cell phone, in my pocket, to do the same thing. But you were coming along in a time, it seems like, with even with as much success as you had, there was still much more difficult work to be done to continue to be noticed.
Yes, because the areas were so isolated and segregated.
Right. Oh boy. Now,
and by race, by culture, by technology, by everything.
What about geography?
Geography too.
So,
like you were talking about the South.
Yeah, I was to say, so touring and traveling, if geography.
I mean, like for instance, how am I going to have a hit record? I don't have a Southern accent.
There you go. And then how does Melba Moore get who Melba Moore is from New York to Louisiana?
Right.
You know, I imagine you did a good bit of travel during that time. What were those experiences like as you moved around the United States?
Well, because the opportunity first came through theater, they came to places like the Waldorf,
mm-hmm.
where the fabulous supper clubs in New Orleans and in Chicago and in Detroit,
mm-hmm.
where primarily white people came. But it was always some sisters and brothers in those cities that came and said, come on, let me take you across the tracks.
Let me show you where we sit at.
Let me show you where's at.
Which is always a great experience. I mean, that's how you learn the new part, the new thing that you maybe didn't hear yet. Somebody over here is doing just a little different, but it's somebody just like you.
Yeah. And I remember, I know, it was my girlfriends became, and I was staying in the penthouse in what's the name of the fabulous supper club in Chicago? I can't, the big hotel down on the lake. And they took me around to the blues clubs, okay? Mm-hmm. So, oh my, I know blues clubs like that in New York. You joking? Everybody's last name was King.
New York has some other fabulous stuff of its own to boast about. One of them is Melba Moore, came out of there. Now, I do know you spent a little time on stage with Eartha Kitt.
Yes.
Tell me about Miss Eartha. Tell me about that time on stage with her.
Well, there's only one Eartha.
Yes, man. And we miss her.
We do. And she comes from that era of like Pearl Bailey and Dorothy Dandridge and Nina Horn, Sarah Vaughan.
Oh, boy.
Gerald.
Oh,
God. Great.
Say all the names.
I can't say them all. That's how we as Americans and African Americans are so blessed.
Mm-hmm.
to
Mhm.
have those influences. And the reason I was in that opposite her was because of Jeffrey Holder.
Okay, got you in a row.
He wanted me there. But what I'm reminiscing about, I used to love to try to see if I could learn to dance.
Ooh, I was
So one
wondering
of my,
about your dancing.
one of my teachers was Carmen de Lavalato, of course, Jeffrey's wife.
Yeah, okay, wow. Wow.
Yeah, I mean you're in and who else? Because there used to be a place called the Y. I don't know if it's YWCA, but they had dance classes there, and
Okay.
Alvin Ailey's people were all teaching dance there.
What?
I know you didn't ask me that, but this is the environment I was in.
Tell me, Alvin Ailey.
Alvin Ailey.
Wow. Well, that's the best dancing you can get. That's instruction you get.
I'm telling you the environment that I was
Yeah, I mean,
fed with.
surrounded by the greats.
And the reason that happened is because when I was about 5 years old, my mother gave me dance lessons at Mary Bruce. Everybody used to know about Mary Bruce in New York. Well, I just fell in love with that and moving and playing on the streets of New York. You like to breathe hard at least, you want to do something so you know you're alive.
Oh, so and singing does that for me. I'm sure it does that for you.
I mean, it does that for me now, but at that time, fighting on the streets did.
Fighting on the streets. Oh boy.
You know how kids are. But I'm just telling you, I guess what your spirit is fed on and how you
Yeah.
continue to just thrive and move and grow. Yeah.
And experience things.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna talk to get all weepy eyed about experiencing. I haven't experienced anything in 2 years, it seems like these days. Boy,
Well, you could be weeping. It's important. Yeah.
yeah, I need it back. I think we all do. Now back onto you though. 1981.
Okay.
Here we go with Pearly again for television. Was that experience any different than the stage?
No.
Yeah.
Well, only in the sense that, of course, I was familiar with it, and my then husband is the one who, he and I spearheaded getting that on film, and we convinced Philip Rose to direct it and help us produce it for film to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why I thought to do that. It was my idea.
Well, I mean, it got you back in that role and maybe introduced more people to the story.
Well, absolutely. I don't know if I was so smart to know that. I don't know why I wanted to do it, but I know it was an incredible vision to have it done because it's here for everybody to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I think others will, all these years later, follow suit and put theater on film.
I think they should. I mean, hadn't been much theater here as of
The
late.
only thing I know about that's been done, that probably have been others, is Hamilton.
Yeah, and very well. Very well. I never saw Hamilton live, but the filming of it I've seen has been very great for me. 1980s, it seems like you spend more time in television than before. What was that experience like for you?
Let me see. I'm trying to think. I can't remember exactly all the different shows, but there were so many. I remember Flip Wilson. I don't know if that's during that time. Carol Burnett, B. Arthur.
B. Arthur. What about the famous, I don't think they make them anymore, after school specials? You appeared in
After school
a few of those,
special.
yeah.
Just tons and tons and tons of television.
Back when I tell my nephews, I'm old enough to remember when TV just sort of went off at night. There was nothing else to watch.
Right.
Look forward to things from me, like having an after school special to get my little cartoon. Some animation work. I think a lot of people's favorite movies from years ago. Yeah. All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Yeah. I'd like to do more of that, really.
Really? I've done only a little bit of voice work. Okay, well, tell me about doing this first one and what bit you that makes you want to go back.
Well, first of all, it was enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
They're very popular, so it's a media that you can find work in.
Yeah, I mean, this is the big one.
I think primarily that.
All Dogs Go to Heaven. I actually last night looked at a clip of you singing in All Dogs Go to Heaven. I mentioned it to a friend of mine, and she pulled up a clip, immediately knew who you were, but didn't know that until I said your name in the movie.
Well, I mean, this is the only one I've done, so that's understandable. I could do more.
Now, here's what impresses me most about you, Melba. Not that all of it isn't gold. Lift Every Voice and Sing, 1990. What made you want to work on this project? What made you call the people you called? And did you hope, did you think it would be as impactful as it was?
Okay, to the last question, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes, I hoped it would be. I was with Capitol Records at the time, and I'm trying to think. Oh, before that, before I took it to my record company, I had some time off, and I was watching the NAACP Awards, and they gave a great award, I don't remember the category, to this incredible woman, Dr. Dorothy Height.
Okay.
And as she spoke, I just became mesmerized. I said, who is this lady? And I wasn't full of work and projects in my mind. So I said, wow, I'd like to spend some time with her. I'm not doing anything now. So I gave her office a call.
Okay.
And I asked her, did you think it might be possible for us to meet and talk about me just coming out with her organization, the National Council of Negro Women, and just traveling with them to see how they do things, what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was probably talking about the Black Family Union celebrations that they do, and the conferences and festivals and programs that they have for all the different things, all the different types of community service that they do. Mm-hmm. And she said yes, and she made me her membership chair because I was a celebrity, so I was kind of at least one of the faces for the National Council of Negro Women. And I was just traveling around and going to the festivals and going to the meetings and the prayer breakfasts and whatever they were having, and the conferences at the convention halls and meeting all the mayors, all the Black mayors. And she said, Melba, you're here, you sing. Why don't you sing something for us at the prayer breakfasts? Now that she'd gotten to know me, So I said, fine, she says. She said, why don't you sing the Negro National Anthem? I didn't know it. I didn't know that we had one. So I figured, like many New Yorkers or Northeasterners, many of us probably didn't know that. So I went and found it, and James Weldon Johnson and J. Rosamond Johnson, I found out that they wrote it, and I learned it, and I started singing it. But it came to me, why don't I take this to my record company? And I did, and the gentleman who was head of A&R is a Black man, or was a Black man, so I thought he might have a sensitivity about it, not that necessarily he would do it. I just want to talk to him about it. But he said he thought it was a great idea. I said, but wait a minute, if we make a good arrangement of this and it becomes successful, people don't think this is my hit record, because I bet you there's a lot of people who don't know we have this, that this is our national anthem. So why don't we invite other artists on it and we can see what the NAACP, they owned it, wants to do with it. Don't do it for us to make money, but donate the money to them and make it a community service project. So that was my idea. And so my A&R person went and got me BB Winans.
Yeah. Not just BB.
And Cece.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. And Stevie. And Dionne Warwick.
Come on, Bobby.
And Osborne. And
Anita.
Jackson. And Stephanie Mills. Huh?
Take Six.
Yeah, okay. You name the rest. I'm probably going to forget some.
Oh, no. They're your star. I mean, I'm impressed. Not just that those people agreed to sing it.
Excuse me. He got Jesse Jackson to do the narration for the auditory version. And the actor, I can't think of his name now for the video, Oscar-winning actor. I can't think of his name, I'm sorry. But they got all these people for me. So that we really made it a star-studded event.
I did
skip a little bit, because after we did it, Dr. Height and her colleague, Dr. C. Dolores Tucker, who was a congresswoman, got the Black Caucus to actually enter it into the congressional record and make it official.
Yes, ma'am.
So
National Recording Registry in 2016 as well.
Yes,
That's you. That's you. And
It was our anthem, but I helped make it official and put it on record.
and that's what's really powerful to me right now. It didn't register to me. I didn't think about it that anybody, particularly a Black body, would not know the song in the year 1990. What an amazing discovery that has to have been for somebody like yourself, been singing all this time. But then to take that bit of ignorance you once had, fertilized with the knowledge that you gained, and then turn it into something that's now historic. I am beyond moved, Melba, Miss Moore, by that contribution. So thank you for that. In the special exhibition we have going on right now, there's a piece in there on the same theme of Lift Every Voice and Sing. It's an old player piano. And the artist has paired with this player piano that plays Lift Every Voice and Sing. I still have not yet heard the piano play it, but next to it is a replica, tiny little replica of the Liberty Bell. And the clapper inside that bell is not made of metal, rather it's made of the artist's own hair. And she puts her hair in much, if not all, of her work. But in this instance, I think it's a bit up to the interpretation of the viewer of the piece. Does it represent to them perhaps the silencing of the Black body? Does it represent maybe the integration of the Black body into this thing we call America? Does it represent the dimming of the ancestors who may have sounded that bell, but has the clappers been replaced with our hair? And next to it is Lift Every Voice and Sing. Apparently, evidently, made really popular and really famous by yourself. And when I walk by it, I think about this story. You're there with me every time I see it. I wish I could walk you through the exhibition. I hope we can make that happen.
I hope so.
That's fabulous. 1995, Les Mis, first Black actor to play the role of Fantine.
Yes, I was in Hollywood, Florida, trying to mount my one-woman play because I had lost everything. My whole career and everything was shut down. And I remember seeing on HBO where Whoopi Goldberg had written a one-woman play, and that's really how she was discovered. So I thought I would try it too, even though I wasn't a playwright. So I was putting it up, and I had some people help me try to at least structure it. And I was putting it up and getting people's response to it to tell me what I could do to finish it and make it a full play. And one of the people who came to see me, his name is Richard J. Alexander.
Okay.
And he still has a home near Hollywood, Florida. Doesn't live there, but he knew who I was from Pearlie and whatever else he'd known me from then. And he came to see my little play, and he heard me sing Gershwin's Summertime because I'm a classical singer.
And the living is easy.
Right, that one.
I'm an opera singer too. Maybe we'll sing together one day.
Just checking.
Yeah, just in case anyone didn't believe it.
So he said to me, I didn't know that you could sing classical music. He said, and he watched the play, and he liked me as an actor. So he said, you would be good for the role of Les Mis.
Mm-hmm.
Fantine. He said, I'm serious. He says, it's going to take me a little time. I have to tell the people about you and get everything set up for you. And he said, I'm not lying. And actually he did. I don't remember how long it was after that, but I'm sure he had me come and sing for the rest of the staff at Les Mis, and got me as in the role of Fantine as the first Black actress in that role.
In such an iconic play. I mean, who doesn't know the show Les Mis? It's been running forever.
Did you notice about Les Mis that it's really a gospel play? Did you know that? Did you notice that?
I hadn't noticed that. I'm going to be honest with you. Les Mis is one play that I haven't studied that much because, Frank, it seemed when I was studying, that everyone was studying, so I studied something else. But teach me about this.
Well, it's just that if you recall the story, Jean Valjean is the one he gets saved. It only occurred to me.
You look at.
I don't think anybody else looks at it that way.
I love that. You know, Melba, I hadn't looked at it that way, but your faith is a big part of your life.
It is, yeah.
I can't imagine. I
They call it
can't.
everything. So yeah.
As a, faith's a big part of my life too. I grew up in the church. We'll talk about me at another time. Um, 2000, year 2000 rolls around. I think you make an appearance in Fighting Temptations. Cuba
Oh,
Gooding Jr., Beyonce Knowles. What was that experience like?
oh, that was so good and so wonderful. I guess one of the things I do like about it is that I think they were funny and they were joking, but I think they still respected the church.
Yeah, have to.
Sometimes I think they make a buffoonery out of it. And I don't want to watch them, you know, but I thought they were respectful of the church. First of all, did you remember that opening scene with Ann Nesby and Shirley Caesar singing a duet? Oh my God! Come on now.
What a film. I mean, many people watching this will know
I
exactly
mean,
this film. And
I like to say Beyonce made everybody look short and ugly. No,
isn't that her job?
it's just many wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people in it. Steve Harvey, Yolanda Adams,
Oh, Stevie.
Mary.
Yes. I haven't heard from them in a minute.
Yeah.
Man, I remember 2003. I just gotten out of college.
I
Or
met
maybe
them in a gospel play that I did when I had lost everything and I was being evicted from my home. But fortunately, I was going to be on the road, so I didn't need a home. I mean, these are incredible stories, I know. But one of the guest artists that came into the play one time was Mary. I mean, the plays were just unbelievable. Well, I should give credit to Michael Matthews. He actually created that genre.
Mm.
I know Tyler Perry probably gets credit for it because he took it as far as it can go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
good,
he's so
more power to
incredible.
him. Yeah.
He's so incredible. So that people don't know that Michael Matthews actually began it. But anyway,
No, but
my history lesson.
I want to, and I want to talk about Forevermore. I want to talk about Still Standing, which tells the story about you. But you've mentioned several times now difficult moments in our lives, and there's a quote from 2012 of yours that I hope you don't mind me reading. It
Whatever,
moves me.
whatever.
You say, these are your words. I need to tell you because they're your own. I gotta read them. I have been low more than once, and I want people to know that it won't happen just once. It will happen many times. I guess if you have a dream, and if you have something that you want to live for, that makes you think about more than the devastation that you are experiencing, maybe people that you love, that need you, or maybe you have some question like, why did that happen? Or am I going to get through this? Sometimes you really feel like you want it to be over and even contemplate suicide, but for some reason you don't. So you wait a minute, and you wait a minute, and you wait another minute. Then after a while, you just get the heck up. Then you're so shocked you can laugh about it because life is a mystery. Melba, I read that and I wept. I read that not only because it speaks so deeply to who I am, but because the entire world is full of devastation and everyone felt as low as everyone else, at least for a moment, maybe even still. And words like yours, I think, are so encouraging to know that it's normal, that it's not going to happen just once, that it's going to happen again and that you still can be okay. And you, I think, can't deliver sentiments like that, Melba, unless you've lived it yourself. Where do you find the strength? Have you found the strength to keep going so resiliently?
I think God found me and I just didn't know it.
Oh, there you angel scooped you up.
Yeah, because you don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And your devastation really kind of swallows you up, or it would. I don't think you could do this. I don't think you could get up. Yeah. I think you get help from heaven.
Yeah, I think you're right. I know you're right. At least that's right for me. Along with, I don't know, someone's kind word along the way.
Oh, I've always had that. Somebody's always come along. I remember I wasn't going to tell you that story, but I'll tell you briefly, hopefully. When I was out on the road with the gospel play with Michael Matthews, the creator of that genre, the whole company was saved they really were saved. I was saved, but I didn't know it.
Right.
Because it didn't happen to me in a church. I wasn't associated with any particular religion at that point. And I remember at the first rehearsal, one of the actors, Dita, said, "Good morning, saints. Praise the Lord, everybody. I thought I had died and went to heaven because everybody around me was always cussing and fussing. Some of the worst arguments I had with my ex-husband was me trying to go to church.
Huh.
It was so bizarre.
How
And
do
then
you justify that?
at that time, I was homeless. I had even lost my daughter at that particular time. I didn't know where she was. She had run away.
Huh.
And so I was, if I could describe it, maybe kind of numb.
Yeah.
So as I looked around me, kind of like in a daze, I saw these people. Well, so much of me was just so broken and feeling like destroyed and just in another world already. So, but they would come up to me, they would be with me, and and I'd never been on a tour, so we ride on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And say people are hilarious. So, I mean, you may be half dead, but you're going to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a healing thing, Nobody expects you to come out and do things. So they come and they just be with you and say, well, Melba this. They just invade you.
Just keep loving you till you're shocked enough to laugh about it and realize life's a mystery. That's beautiful. Community somewhere where you needed it and didn't know you were going to find it. That's powerful. Getting back to your career. 2016, Forevermore. Is that your latest album?
Yes, I think it is. Yes.
R&B.
Yes.
What inspired you to record another album?
Well, I'm going to continue. I never stopped.
So are you working on?
There's a whole bunch of stuff out there that will, I'll probably repackage and put out later. Once I actually have a label and all that stuff too. Yeah,
as you should. The world needs it. Needs more Melba Moore. Tell me about
but they're gonna get it.
Yeah. Well, I needed it. I'm gonna be a consumer of it. It's still standing. The Melba Moore story, the show that you were working on when you got into Les Mis.
Yes, I'd called it "Songs My Mother Taught Me."
Mm-hmm.
It's two different names, but that's basically the same show.
I'm curious, since this is the 90s when you're working on Still Standing, and the story definitely has evolved because here we are 2021 and we're having a conversation. Does the play then change as the years go on, or do you stick to that same story you wrote years ago?
No, because I'm not a writer. What I'm hoping now is because God is still giving me fame and celebrity status, I'll now get proper writers. And I'll get a theater team and we'll produce it properly.
I mean, that sounds exciting to me. Also sounds exciting to me as somebody pick up this story and give me a screenplay so I can watch it anywhere I am.
Yeah, and finish writing it too, yeah.
That would be a glorious project, and I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. Melba Moore still creating. We didn't go through all of the notes that I took so I can make sure I don't mess up you, Melba. But we've been chatting long enough. I think the audience may be tired of my voice. Before I let you go from this interview, is there one last piece of wisdom that we can get from you?
Well, we're in a new time. We're in a new day. Mm-hmm. And because I'm Catholic is the first Christian religion. It's the one started by Jesus. And so he leaves all these relics around for us to see the physical evidence of what he gave us. Of course, we've had the Protestant Revolution and many others, and they all have pieces of it.
Right.
But on the Catholic calendar, we just came out of, and it took us 6 weeks to do this, the beginning of the end of, or the harvest season of Pentecost. Mm-hmm. That's when the power comes.
I hear what you said.
Okay. That's where we are now. So all of the things that you already have experienced about, look at the many thousands of people that died during the pandemic.
Mm.
Many people who are still in great grief.
Mm.
We're going to get shocked into the kingdom of heaven, just imploding on them. Woo.
I mean,
That's
they're
basically where we are now.
full of power, pouring into whoever can receive it. I think that's beautiful.
Yes.
You know, there are folks at home who are on that same journey with us, and those who receive that power in another way and call it something else. But it's power there for the rest, for everyone.
Yes.
However it gets, at least I believe so, and I hope so.
Actually, it's more there if you believe, but God is not limited to us and our little whatever. His mercy is, forever. So it's going to, some of it's going to be there even for the bad people.
Well, Melba Moore, the incomparable, the incredible, the beautiful, the lovely, the talented, the full of wisdom. There must be a word for it, but I don't have it because I'm not full of it. Thank you so much, Melba, for being here with me. And I'm looking forward to more conversations. And I hope we get to sit together and take in a show sometime.
Oh, I would love to do that. Thank you. I hope you can tell I've enjoyed this very much.
I hope you can tell. I shouldn't say while I'm still recording, but I was having a phone call earlier today, and I said, man, I sure have never been this nervous to talk to somebody on a computer. But I really enjoyed it. Thank you for the smiles and the laughter.
Thank you.
Those of you at home, thank you for laughing with us. It's not part of my saying, but I'm going to say it today because we did it. Thank you for loving with us. Thank you for listening to us. And thank you for learning from us. From the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts with Melba Moore on location, wherever she is, you don't need to know. This has been Fridays After 5 presented by Chase. I'm Robert Phanord. Good night.
To live, to love, and to give. There's one thing greater, to open up your heart and let it sing. There's no wall, no barrier of resistance that can stop the tumultuous tide of everlasting hope. So through it all, keep hope alive. All over the world, as the walls crumble, hope rises. Nelson Mandela glories in the words, in the beat, in the melody, in the joy, in the victory, in the conquest. There's no turning back. Let freedom ring. Lift every voice and sing until the power comes down. Let the power come down. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.